Welcome to Creekside Chat, brought to you by Diamond Creek Farm. Pull back the barn doors as we delve into the inner workings of a breeding farm. Talking about anything and everything that comes up on the farm. Follow along with us monthly as we continue to strive to be the cut above.
So folks, we're over here in the Stallion Barn in Kentucky, just wanting to get back into our mailbag. Haven't done this in a while, but we've been getting a lot of questions, and we'll answer them as we can and as they relate to kind of what the Creekside Chat episodes are about. So hope you're enjoying the show, and don't forget to send mailbag questions to Caroline at diamondcreekfarm.com. Got a great question here from a viewer about if a filly or mare, Adam, is not making it on the racetrack due to lack of speed or an injury, does it pay to make them brood mares, even though you're going to have to wait 3-4 years for anything to sell?
I think it depends on what your program is. You know, us as a breeding farm, we have quite a number of mares, and so we can take that chance, especially good pedigreed horses. But if your business is racing, I think, you know, sell it, send it back to the marketplace, let the people that do what they're doing best. We breed a lot of mares, we race a lot of fillies, and so we can afford to take that chance, especially with great families that we have, we can breed them back.
I think it's important for those that have fillies and mares that aren't making it on the track right now to be aware that the breeding season will be over soon. And if you're thinking about retiring your filly or mare to a breeding farm, you probably need to make that decision fairly soon.
Yeah, I mean, we've been pushing some of our trainers to make some decisions on fillies. And I think you probably get quite a number of calls from people either like, give me the price of my mare, is she worth breeding this year? Should I continue to race her? You could probably answer that as well as I can.
We got another question here about how it's easy for us to talk about good horses, but many don't make their investment costs. When you have a brood mare, how do you decide to stop breeding her and move on?
I mean, age probably is the biggest factor for us as a big breeding farm. I mean, we tend to stop breeding somewhere in their late teens, early 20s, and then retire them out and let them live the great life. But farms or small operations that don't have that option, I mean, what are some options for those kind of people?
You know, I think breeding is expensive. It's probably more expensive than folks realize when they get into it. And it's easily one of the hardest things to do business-wise that I know of out there, because we never hardly want to talk about it, but there is loss. You know, there are mares that don't get pregnant. There are foals and yearlings that don't grow up to be nice horses and don't sell well. So as far as when to move on, it's totally dependent on, you know, your own wherewithal and what you're willing to stand. On a nice mare, we always talk about how it would be great to give them at least 4 crops, you know, to prove themselves in the sale ring and on the racetrack, but you may not have the ability to do that. I think it all depends, and I think that you often have to give them more than their first foal to find out if you can do well with them. Yeah. And I think that's one of the hardest parts.
Yeah, I mean, costs are going up every year. Stud fees are high. Raising them is high, and so you need to draw the line at some point, and that's going to be different for every person. So that kind of leads into the next question, which is it an old wives' tale that certain stallions don't work well with certain mares?
I think so. Our experience has been that a stallion not working with a mare, like chromosomally mismatched, is extremely rare. It has way more to do with the fertility of that mare, the fertility of that stallion, and all the circumstances related to their breeding together. Now, switching, there is advantages to switching. You may be switching to a stallion that's more fertile or is closer to you, or you can get the semen more easily. There's some merit to that, but I think if you're struggling getting your mare in foal and the stallion doesn't have fertility issues, you probably need to stay the course, and it probably has something to do with what is going on with that mare or stallion.
Yeah, I think it's easier to blame Yeah, like as a stallion owner, it's easier to blame the mare. As the mare owner, it's easier to blame the stallion. I mean, we get calls every year about, my mare didn't get foaled down by the seaside. Yeah, well, you and only 4 other people last year did not get mares in foal. On the other hand, you might have a horse like Southland Frank who used to stand that, clearly was the stallion, and then you just try to do everything possible on the end, get the mare closer to the stallion if that's the one you're going to use. But, there's more than just mare and stallion, like you said, location, distance, vet, environmental issues, weather, everything plays a factor.
Yeah, going back to actually physically breeding these mares, the viewer saw that we bred Blood Oath on a recent episode and asked if all mares are calm and easy to breed like her, or would there ever be a situation where you would need to tranquilize a mare to breed her?
I would say tranquilize a mare to breed, very, very rare. We obviously picked a mare that we knew wasn't going to be a problem for, the interns or us to breed. Nobody wants to watch a mare dancing around, but it does happen. A couple weeks before that, we were breeding a mare that had just had her first fall and was breeding her back, and she kicked one of the interns that was breeding her. Mare ended up in foal anyway, but those kind of things do happen. I think it's rare. Maybe in 15 years, we've had one mare kick.
I think this is a funny question we got here from a viewer because we do make things sound simple, but we struggle just as much as everyone else. He says, it appears that breeding is as simple as filling up your car with gas. Don't we wish? Yet, many in-heat mares don't catch. And when we say catch, we mean get in foal or get pregnant. Is it that the semen count from the stallion is too low? Does the mare not have a large enough follicle? Why so many rebreeds required?
I think the answer is yes to all, or potentially yes to all. Like we've said previously, the stallion could be the issue, the mare could be the issue, the fact she didn't ovulate, the fact that maybe she has fluid. there are countless reasons, and we're taking care of right around 150 mares on the properties that we have this year, so we're dealing with
seeing a little bit of it all, right?
A little bit of everything. The easy ones are great. You breed them and move them out of the way, and then you spend 80% of your time on the 20%.
What if you were to just throw out a random percentage for us herd-wise this year on normal cycles, normal reproductive results versus what we'll call more challenging cases?
It's at least 75% are normal.
Are normal, okay.
Yeah, at least, and it could be higher. I'm not looking at numbers, but just a rough guess. But like I said before, you're spending 75 or 80% of your time on the 25 or 30% of mares that are bad or are more challenging.
Now, on those challenging mares, is there any advice for the viewers on some different things they could try or interventions they could look into?
You should trust your vet. That's what you do. That's why you have them. The people that aren't trusting their vet are probably struggling. There are tools that you can use the more you do this. And a lot of it's an art almost as much as it is a science. But I think you start with your vet and allow them, the ability to do what they do. They have more knowledge than we do about it, more experience. So.
Would you say that sometimes you need to be willing to try some new things, spend some more money? And at what point do you how do you make those decisions when you get later and later in the season, and let's say you've had a mare bred 2 or 3 times?
Yeah, I think you start getting desperate, and then you start calling people that, maybe you trust that have had good luck at another operation you do business with. You can call the farm managers there.
And I would encourage people to call us if they're breeding to one of our stallions
Absolutely.
and having an issue. We would love to talk out the reproductive stuff with you.
Yeah, we're more than happy to help, but then again, we reach out to other people as well. If we struggle with stallions, we reach out to Dr. J, who used to be at Hanover, now on her own, and she's been more than happy to help us navigate some stallion issues in the past. So
There's
you kind of
definitely
use the resources around. Yeah.
If you and your vet are striking out and you need a little bit of outside help, there's definitely resources available. And when it comes to our stallions, we would rather talk that through with you than you continue to not get the results you want. And it only helps our stallions as well.
Sure.
So let's talk about our stallions and how they're doing pregnancy rate-wise, and just some of the things that we keep track of. First of all, walk me through that. Do we know how many mares are pregnant? Do we keep track of that with our
Yeah,
stallions?
our office does a good job of constantly calling and asking, because we keep a very detailed report on farm and we want to know how our stallions are doing. And so everybody on the farm gets a weekly report every Wednesday about how our stallions are doing. And you've seen the numbers, and I would say that most, if not all, of our stallions are up from last year, which is great. We've increased numbers on Chimpanzee. He's well above where he was last year. Sweet Lou and Crunch, Mickey, Father Patrick down by the seaside.
What about the new guy?
That's what I was going to leave to you. So
Okay. So when you get a new stallion, you can get your breeding soundness exam done, and they can tell you what they think the stallion can do. But until you start breeding mares, you really don't know. And it was right off the bat. We got those first few confirmed in foal. And then just a few weeks ago, our preg check, he had everything in foal, like 20 mares. His first 20 mares. He's had a few that he's had to rebreed now, but overall, like dynamite fertility. And the libido is as strong as anybody we've had in here. So.
Yeah, he's kind of fun to come and watch, and you see him in the flesh, and he's a great individual. And the fertility report says he was going to do well.
Yeah,
but
we're shipping semen all over for him because you don't have to have the mare in the state in Kentucky to be Kentucky eligible. So. We're loving these results, and I think if you've got a tricky mare or you've got an older mare that you want to try, there's a few spots left. He is a highly fertile, good bet for somebody trying to first crop cycle.
No horse is a for sure thing, but he's as close to it as you can get at this point, and we're very happy with the preg rates.
Yeah.
Like you said, first couple that get in full, it's kind of like the brow, sweat off the brow. Now we're off and running, and he's been great so far.
And Chimpanzee, you said we increased those numbers. Talk about how do we manage Chimpanzee and his fertility, and what kind of pregnancy rates are we seeing this year?
I think Southland Frank kind of helped us navigate that. I mean, they're very similar, and so having him here in Kentucky allowed us to tell everybody, you need to be close to the stallion. This is maybe the mistake we made with Frank, but having the mares here on property, they all get shipped in day of breeding. Our vet inseminates them deep horn. We spin him down in the centrifuge. We give him every opportunity to do so. And his libido allows us to collect him twice a day, 5-6 days a week or whatever allows, and he's been great for that. And it's allowed us to breed a lot more mares, and pregnancy rates have been fantastic because of that. Our clients have readily accepted those changes, which are
we appreciate that.
Completely different from what they're used to doing. And so we couldn't have done it without them. They've been very open to bringing the horses here and buying into this idea that we're going to collect him twice a day, and that he's available in the morning and the afternoon. And we can't thank them enough.
Yeah, we hope we're all rewarded. We'll be seeing the first crop of Chimpanzee units here this fall. Yeah. So exciting times.
Yeah.
So that's a great edition of the mailbag here. We'll just finish it up with another question about vets suturing mares once they're confirmed in foal. Do we do that at Diamond Creek? And what does that mean?
Yeah, I'll put a caslick in the top part of their vulva.
Just like a little
suture,
stitch.
just a stitch.
And why?
I don't know the exact. Well, the reason we do, a couple of reasons. One, she might have poor conformation, vulvar conformation, so the anus might sit farther back and increase the chance that she gets infected. She might have torn at the most recent foaling. She might pull fluid or pull urine in her uterus or in her vagina. So just try to limit the amount of bacteria or debris or whatever it is that gets in there and could cause problems with the pregnancy. I would say that we probably do it on 50% or so, somewhere in that.
Older mares more often?
Yeah, and like I said, bad conformation mares, but when we try to look at that, that's part of what we look at when we look at mares in the fall. That's one of the criteria, right? You go around and you look too.
Yeah, that would be great. Maybe we can do some more on that on a future episode with the vulva conformation and caslick. So, great edition here of the mailbag. We encourage you to keep sending them in. We love to answer, so we'll try to do this again sometime. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.